If you want to hit a bigger, more powerful forehand with less efforts, then you've clicked on the right video. In this special lesson, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that by avoiding the black hole. Black hole just simply means something that sucks energy up and doesn't give you the result that you deserve based on how much effort you put into a swing. And most tennis players are suffering from that. So if that sounds like something you'd like to accomplish, bigger shot, less effort, click that thumbs up button. And let's go right over to our student. We're going to be doing a case study. I just helped a 4-5 player dramatically improve her output without any more input. In fact, at the end of our lesson, she was trying way less and hitting a bigger shot. And I'd like you to check out her original swings first. This is her warming up, which she said she felt good about her warm-up shots. She's a 4-5 player in central Wisconsin. And her comment to me was she just felt like she was really struggling to get the results that she deserved on her forehand. Things were feeling kind of forced, and she wasn't able to get very consistent results. And so she was able to hit strong shots, and the reason why was watch how well she turns her hips and her body forwards before contact. That's something we focus on a lot with students. She was doing fantastic, and that's why she's a high-level player. But right around contact, watch this shrug with her shoulders coming up into her ear right here. And then shortly after contact, watch how she was flipping the racket over to finish the swing, over on the opposite side. So what's happening there? She's using her body fantastically well, but right at the critical moment of contact, everything is kind of clenching down and she was tightening up. And that's the black hole. That's what's sucking energy and results out of her shot, is this tightness right around contact. Her shoulder, her forearm, her hand, her wrist were clenching down, and then she's kind of flipping the racket over to the other side. And so that's what we focused on with her forehand. And I'd love to show you the drills right now that we did that you can do at home to transform your own forehand. Over the course of about an hour, I worked through 6 different drill progressions. I'll share all of them with you right now. And this first one was just slow, smooth shadow swings. After we looked at her before technique, my only instruction to her here was to focus on leading with her body, which she was already doing a good job of, but I wanted her to really accentuate that, and keeping her arm, her shoulder, her forearm, her hand as loose as physically possible. So this is her without a ball, just focusing on only those 2 things. And what I really want to draw your attention to in particular is the length of the swing that she's now using. If we draw a line here and kind of trace the shape of her swing, you can see that now she's got a really long, smooth, relaxed swing. I didn't ask her to do that, but by focusing on using her body to power the swing and focusing on relaxing her arm to make everything smooth and efficient, she naturally started to develop this big, long runway, which helps aid in efficient use of the body so much. So if we compare that to where she started, you'll see a huge difference in the size of the swing and the length of the swing. Here's what she was doing before. This is that same swing we just looked at a second ago. And if you look at the size of the swing here, there's so much tension getting sucked into that black hole of energy that in this particular swing, the size of her swing is probably something like this. So the tip of her racket is just immediately flipping over. And so the size of the runway here is much smaller. The size of the runway here is much bigger. Here her body is doing most of the work. Here her arm is kind of taking over and sucking up all the energy that her body has developed into the swing and taking it over. And that is a recipe for lots of effort, but not very much output. Our second progression involves fake tosses. Fake tosses are when a ball is involved, but the student's goal isn't to hit the ball. Instead, it's just to time the new swing with a ball in the picture. So what happens when you learn something new, your old habit is constantly still trying to drag you back to the way that you're used to doing it, the way that subconsciously you normally respond to a ball being there. So I could have her do shadow swings for a half an hour straight, but then normally what happens with students is the first time they try to hit a ball, they just go back to their old habit. So what fake tosses do is create kind of a stepping stone in between the shadow swings and actually hitting the ball, because it actually does provide additional layer of challenge. Just because the ball is there And you actually notice here, she's kind of really focusing. You can tell she's kind of trying to avoid like looking at the ball. And in doing my own training on my own strokes, I know this, I kind of do this a little bit myself. The ball acts like a trigger to pull out that habit, the one that we're trying to erase, the one we're trying to overwrite and forget and put to the back burner so that we can do this new thing right. So she's doing a fantastic job here, just concentrating on the two things I asked her to do, which is lead with her body, relax her arm. Lead with the body, relax with the arm. And so every time I tossed her a ball and her instruction was to let it go, that's the only thing I wanted her to think about. And she did a fantastic job. What's fascinating is a lot of times with students, the fake toss actually brings the old habit back. But she actually did a great job just making everything look exactly the same, even when the ball was there. So experiment with this yourself. You might not need fake tosses to learn a new habit, but oftentimes they're super critical and necessary if you want to forget your old stroke and go to a new and improved one. If you're enjoying this breakdown, if you're finding it valuable, then I highly recommend you go to essentialtennisacademy.com and sign up for a free trial. You'll have full access to all the coaching. It's an incredibly valuable platform that will show you how to systematically improve every part of your game. So go sign up now. In progression 3, she's still on the service line. We just did a shadow swing, a fake toss repetition, and now she's hitting a ball. And it's actually a little bit later on in the process where I'm giving her multiple hits in a row. Initially, I was having her do a shadow, a fake, and then one hit. But now we're having her do a shadow, a fake toss, and then 3 hits in a row because she was doing a really nice job, and I just wanted to give her some more repetition doing the correct thing, actually hitting the ball. Because that's the highest level of challenge. That's the level where most people start to really go back towards their old habit. But she was doing a really nice job. So what we're looking for here when we get together and powwow in between repetitions, we're looking for is she still doing the shrug and is she still doing the flip? And you can see here that here's the ball on a fake toss, no shrug, no flip, and everything's really loose and long and relaxed, which is fantastic. And we want to see the same thing with the ball there. So here's an actual hit. No shrug, which is fantastic. And no flip. Fantastic. So things are starting to really smooth out a little bit. Her length of swing, if we draw that circle here, is not quite as big as on the shadow swing or on the fake toss. But compared to where we came from, remember the really tight, tense, like shrugging up into the shoulders up into the ears kind of thing? We've pretty much completely gotten rid of that in this environment here where I'm just underhand tossing to her. And this is the name of the game. If you want to change your strokes, if you want to become a fundamentally better tennis player, then it means doing something different. It means reversing your old habit. And so managing the level of challenge is critical. If I got together and I said, oh, here, take a look, Shelly, you're getting really tight, you're flipping the racket, all right, go change it. And then I just like started feeding her balls or we started rallying, she would just go back to her old habit. So that's why we go through these steps, these little stepping stones. In our 4th progression, we moved our student back into no man's land. So we just create some extra distance, but we're continuing to use that sequence of shadow swing, fake toss, and then actual hit of the ball. The shadow swing's purpose is to remind her, to kind of ground her back in the new technique again and remind herself physically, here's what the new one feels like. The fake toss adds a little bit of challenge. She's not hitting the ball yet, but she's got the ball there to have to try to time. And so there's a little bit of the pull back to her old habit, but she's again reinforcing the new thing and saying, no, do the new one, do the new one. And then of course the actual hit is the most challenging of all. And now that there's some distance between us, the ball is bouncing a little bit differently. There's more time, the timing's a little bit different. But if you look at the execution here on the hits, she continued to do a fantastic job of removing the shrug at contact and keeping the swing nice and long and relaxed, allowing the racket to release and keeping the runway nice and long. So as we systematically move our way back, make it more difficult, she's doing a great job of grabbing onto the new things, which is really different from her old habit, and just smoothly continuing to execute them. Now we're back on the baseline and she's hitting full ground strokes with a feed from my racket. So again, environment has become more difficult and challenging, but she's done a great job of keeping that focus point of making sure the body leads, and then keeping her arm really loose and relaxed. And so you'll see that her swing has gotten a little bit smaller, but the difference from where we came from is dramatic. And I'll show you a side-by-side right now. So these forehands are just about an hour apart. Here's where she started with that shoulder shrug, the racket flip, all of that tension that was coming in right around contact. Even though she was using her body really well, she was just kind of clamping everything down. And then an hour later, here's what her swing is looking like. Much more smooth, much more fluid, much more effortless. And that's the word she continued to use. I ask my students frequently, how is that feeling? What's the difference? Can you explain it to me? And she kept saying to me, it just feels so much more effortless. She's getting much more using much less effort compared to this one, where she's having to force contact and there's just a lot of muscling going on. And so if you don't train this, most players, their natural tendency is to use their arm to hit the ball. And you might even be a really solid, accomplished player like this student was. She was using her body fantastic, already playing at a high level, but her arm was sabotaging all of those efforts. And so that black hole, the energy just getting sucked out of her shot was taking place. This is just after an hour of training, but I sent her home with step-by-step instructions so she knows how to train this. And you can go ahead and follow these same drills and get the same results at home. I hope you do. If you found this helpful, do me a favor and just click the thumbs up button and let me know. Comment down below which parts of this were maybe surprising or not what you expected, and also let me know if you apply this to your own game, how it works for you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.